Kia ora and welcome to Sam's Take, a series about entertainment news and reviews with me, Sam Realstone. This week, I'm looking at the latest Marvel Studios show on Disney+, She-Hulk Attorney at Law. The story follows Jennifer Walters / She-Hulk, played by Tatiana Maslany, a lawyer who becomes a Hulk following an accident with her cousin Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo. She then begins specialising in superhuman law as She-Hulk while trying to navigate her life as both Jen and a Hulk. She-Hulk debuted in Marvel Comics in 1980 under a slightly different origin than this show. She's a victim of a mob hit and is saved via a blood transfusion from her cousin Bruce, thus turning her into She-Hulk. Since then, she's had numerous solo comics as well as appearing in crossovers and becoming an Avenger. Tatiana Maslany as Jen is delightful, immensely expressive and charming. She brings such a light matter-of-factness to the character. Maslany carries the lead role and show with ease, introducing the character to the MCU confidently with impeccable comedic timing. The character's journey, the way Jen and She-Hulk coexist is compelling. How She-Hulk is more adored than Jen. It's very much a juxtaposition to how Hulk and Bruce are viewed. Speaking of, Smart Hulk's animation looks good, probably because they had the character models left over from Endgame. While She-Hulk looks a bit smoother than him, you can see his pores, veins, much more detail, while she sometimes looks like she's made of clay. The ropey CGI is intermittent, but also sometimes changes in quality scene by scene. But also, hey, visual effects artists are working damn hard in rough conditions sometimes, so they've done well with what they've got. The first couple of episodes gives us more of the Hulk tragedy that we haven't been able to delve into in recent films. The way he's seen as a monster, which is played even more poignant now he's more aware of his interaction with others while being Hulk, and has Jen as a different perspective. She's the audience surrogate of a comic book reader, seeing these characters and their trauma as something to be addressed rather than ignored. The show also highlights the difference in the states of Banner / Hulk over the years. Smart Hulk is noticeably underpowered compared to regular Hulk. Of course, he sacrifices the strength for the control and is still superhuman. Ginger Gonzaga as Jen's best friend Nikki is so charming and quippy. She has heaps of personality and likability without needing to get too heavily involved with She-Hulk's superheroing. She has her own motive and action, which makes her more three-dimensional without relying on Jen's character to prop her up. The show is largely presented as a comedy, and it's pretty decent. Some stuff is hit and miss, but on the whole, it's fun and definitely gets better as the season progresses. Though there's been a bit of criticism about the amount of characters who have become comedic as a part of the series, having previously not been funny. Firstly, the She-Hulk comics are comedy stories, and second, Marvel comics as a whole are quippy and fun mixed with action. That's always been their appeal. Not to say the biggest competitor DC isn't quippy, but it's certainly a trademark of Marvel. So it's not out of the ordinary that they would be funny. Also, Tony Stark quipped his way through 10 years of movies and nobody said anything. It's colourful, goofy, and poppy. Compared to previous Marvel shows, it's more of just a comedy with minimal stakes and weight, which is fine. It's built in that this is more of a fast-paced sitcom / legal drama type show, so I'm okay with it. Hooray for doing fresh new things. Though of course there are still villains skulking around, one of which being Jamila Jamil's Titania. The character debuted in the comics in 1984 and has been a mainstay in She-Hulk comics since. As a villain, I found her a bit one-dimensional. She kind of just shows up to say a sassy line, annoy Jen, then leave. It also isn't exactly explained where she gets her powers from. She just has them. Which is an interesting move because Marvel usually explain any and all powered beings. One of the big parts of She-Hulk's character is that she breaks the fourth wall to address us, the audience. I thought these were done really well and added a lot of value and humour to the show, with one really great one about the change in actor of Hulk from Edward Norton to Mark Ruffalo. It uses these fourth wall breaks to be extremely reflexive and meta to the production and construction of the MCU as entertainment, which, for something that's been going for 14 years, you've got to make fun of yourself at some point. The show also isn't afraid to be on the nose about the treatment of females in the workplace or the wider world, which is also good because, those things happen and need commenting on. I also really enjoyed how much the show leaned into Jen and She-Hulk trying to live a normal life, particularly through dating and some fairly PG content which Marvel usually shies away from. She-Hulk has had numerous relationships throughout her comic history, and it was both fun and heartbreaking to see Jen succeed and fail at dating because of her Hulk side. I also really like how the show feels very connected to the wider cinematic universe, with references to Eternals, Shang-Chi, and of course, Netflix's Daredevil. I'll touch more on that in spoilers, but quick thoughts. Charlie Cox is perfect casting and is having so much fun in this. This might be my favourite Marvel Disney Plus show so far. albeit She-Hulk is one of my favourite characters, so I went in with excitement, but I'm just so happy with what they chose to do with Jen and her story, so huge recommendation from me. Now I'm going to get into a few spoilers, so if you don't want to know anything about that, I'll see you in the next video. The final episode features the hugest fourth wall break, with Jen busting into the Disney Plus interface, onto the Marvel Studios lot, and finding the AI Kevin, a robot version of Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige, complete with little baseball cap visor. She then proceeds to tell this AI the finale sucks and change her show's ending in a witty, tongue-in-cheek way that was so refreshing. Again, the self-referential nature of She-Hulk is at its best, using her to talk about the MCU not only as a story, but as a business, with tropes and cliches, poking fun at them even. Particularly having a large CGI fight in the third act. Hopefully this shows that Marvel and Kevin know that these are trends and need to be freshened up once in a while. This was such a great creative choice, not only for She-Hulk and utilization of her meta nature, but for the MCU as a whole. Shaking things up and taking massive swings is the best way forward, and this one really stuck the landing for me. Daredevil is back, with a soft reboot of the Netflix series of the same name that ended a few years ago. Charlie Cox is still charming as Matt Murdock, and it's so wonderful to see him absolutely killing it again. The way the subtleties of his powers are shown, not told, creates a real mystique and gravitas to his character and helps establish him as a seasoned superhero. Matt also has great chemistry with Jen, and I really enjoyed them as a potential long-term couple, but would have liked them to tease it a little longer. Definitely cannot wait for more of him in the future with his own series on the way, Daredevil Born Again. Oh, and the yellow suit looks amazing. Speaking of Daredevil, he reveals that the Sokovia Accords from Captain America Civil War have been repealed. These, of course, were legislation that required all superheroes to be registered and under the control of the government. This could be a result of the events of Infinity War/Endgame, or perhaps the government just realizing they were wrong. I'm unsure if this will have ripples into future Marvel content, as that could be just retreading old ground, but it's a fun Easter egg nonetheless. Early in the series, we see Hulk in space, heading to the planet Sakaar from Thor Ragnarok, following the appearance of the Sakarian ship in Episode 1. This is potentially a setup for an adaptation of the 2007 comic World War Hulk. In short, when a gamma bomb causes Hulk to lose control and attack Las Vegas, the Illuminati, consisting of Iron Man, Mr. Fantastic, Professor X, Black Bolt, Namor, and Doctor Strange, decide he's too dangerous and trick him into being shot into space. They intended on him landing on a peaceful planet, but instead he lands on Sakaar. There, he rises to the rank of leader and finds a wife in the alien Saira, who becomes pregnant with his child Scar. However, his wife dies as a result of the ship that brought Hulk to Sakaar exploding. Obviously furious, Hulk makes his way back to Earth to seek revenge, resulting in World War Hulk, where he decimates the entire Earth before being captured. As for what this means for the MCU, of course Hulk made the decision to leave Earth following the events of Age of Ultron. So the Illuminati, the whole dead wife thing, seems like it's kind of off the table. But in the final episode of this show, we see Hulk comes back with Scar. So perhaps in a new Hulk/She-Hulk movie or a potential season 2, Scar will come into the wider MCU in an adaptation of World War Hulk. Plus the introduction of Scar might give way to Bruce giving up his smart Hulk persona and reclaiming the strength that he used to have. There are also a heap of characters from the vast lore of Marvel Comics peppered throughout the show. One goofy villain is Leapfrog, who debuted in 1967, a man with a frog suit that allows him to jump like a frog. Obviously. The character's alter ego Vincent Batilio is mentioned in the show, but his son Eugene is the one actually in the suit, played by Brandon Stanley. We also get our first introduction to vampires with Saracen, played by Terence Clow, who debuted in 1999 as a member of one of the oldest groups of vampires called the Ancients. This could potentially be referenced or relevant to the upcoming Blade movie with Mahershala Ali, so it's fun to see subtle world building which will hopefully be paid off. Saracen appears as part of a reformed supervillain group which consists of a few other Marvel characters. Man-Bull, played by Nathan Hurd, debuted in 1971 and is just a minotaur really, following an experiment with mutated enzymes of a bull. El Aguila, played by Joseph Castillo Midyet, debuted in 1979 and is a Zorro-type dude. He's had some powers in the past but has since lost them. Porcupine, played by Jason Aaron Ford, debuted in 1963. He's a dude in a porcupine costume. It's in the name. And finally, we get to see some members of a 1974 team called the Wrecking Crew, composed of Wrecker, Bulldozer, Piledriver, and Thunderball. All of them basically use Asgardian-powered construction equipment to commit crime. Ridiculous. There's also a reference to mutants, once again with Mr. Immortal, who debuted in 1989. Like in the show, he is basically immune to any fatal injury, as his name suggests. In the comics though, he is also the leader of another goofy team, the Great Lakes Avengers, who first appeared in 1989 as well. The team consists of Portal creator Doorman, stretchy two-dimensional Flatman, strong and durable Big Bertha, and the winged Dinosaur. The team started after Mr. Immortal decided to fight crime and places an ad for fellow superheroes in the local paper. Once again, Marvel bringing out the super dumb 80s stuff makes me so happy. So as I said, this is definitely my favourite Marvel Disney Plus show so far. I'm super excited for where the character goes next, and I never thought I'd say this, but I'm also excited for the future of the Hulk. What this show did really well was elevate other characters like Daredevil or Hulk himself, while also giving service to the main character of Jen. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Sam's Take. I'll see you next time for more entertainment news and reviews.